We had a couple of questions here about the testing. Here's one. The principal in Lancaster School System retired in protest over the state testing. Do you think this will have an effect on state mandates? And Clark, do you want to start?
Do we think his resignation is going to have an effect on state mandates? Probably not. I would say that I completely share his view of all this regimented testing. When I was a young kid, I'm an engineer now, I invent things, I bring products to the market. I can't think of a single test that I took that helped me do that. When I was a kid, I fixed motorcycles and ATVs and go-karts, and I built tree forts, and I think all that hands-on experience of running and managing projects is really as important, if not more important, a skill set that gets developed among people rather than taking regimented tests. That being said, I am an engineer, and I have taken my fair share of tests over my life, and there is a part and place for it. But I am all for more hands-on, project-oriented curriculum.
Terry?
I do not think that his resignation is going to have an impact on the state. If you're asking me if I agree with standardized testing, I think the testing is needed. I think the extent of the testing that is currently being forced on our children is excessive, to say the least. I would much rather have it go back to the 4th and 8th grade than it used to be. I think starting in 3rd grade is way too young. It's putting too much pressure on these children. I did not mention the tests at all to my 4th grade son, yet the day after the break, the first thing he said to me that morning was, "Mommy, is today the day?" I said, "Today the day for what?" And he said, "Is today the day for my testing?" And I never mentioned it to him. So he wasn't getting that from me. And the stress that he was under, he was so worried and concerned about it. I think what we're doing for our children with these testing is it's overboard. It's overkill and it's overboard, and I think it will have a detrimental effect on these children. And you're speaking to someone who did suffer from test anxiety. And I think that you're going to see a lot more children suffering from test anxiety as well, because we are forcing them at such a young age to take so many tests. If you think about it, all year long, we're testing them with multiple choice questions, short answers, essays, true, false, all different ways that we test these children. Yet for 3 days for math and 3 days for ELA, at the end of the year, we are testing them one way, and it's just too much pressure on the kids, way too much pressure for my liking. So that's something I would like to see change. But I realize that it's something it's the state. And it's something that you have to contact the legislators to get it to change. It's not something that's going to change in our district. It's got to come from the state.
Judy?
I don't think his resigning is going to have an iota of an impact. As far as testing goes, we've actually been testing students. It started in Connecticut in 1845 with Horace Mann. That's how far back it goes. It's kind of fascinating. Actually, I just brought an article into Mr. Manbretti about that because I read it in the New York Times and I thought it was so interesting. My problem is, I think we've gotten to the point with our push for accountability that we are now we're developing curriculum instead of developing people. That bothers me. I think we need to work really hard to develop kids. I try to ask myself, I had a counselor once say this to me, and it really gave me pause. And I would approach this counselor and say, I'm thinking of trying this with this child. And she would say to me, stop and think for a minute, Judy. How are things going to be different or better by instituting this? And I kind of think that's where we are with the testing. You're going to have assessments. Assessments are valuable. They tell us where the child is. But I'm not sure this testing is producing any data that we're really going to be able to use. And I think we have to be so careful that we're not over-testing the kids, especially kids that are challenged to begin with. It really does bother them. Are we doing this for school ratings? are we doing this because of APPRs? Or are we doing this because it's going to make our students better kids and learn better? Something we need to think